Hello, I want to make sure you can hear me. So I am going to check the volume. Hello, I want to make sure you can We have volume. I've got my little. Okay, but be quiet now. We have volume. Okay, there we go. So, yeah, I'm excited to be here. It is getting closer to the actual summertime. And so, summer is a time for me when I really get into, I won't say expansion mode, but I really set the stage for the rest of the year. And I did a post about that earlier today. So let me just back up. My name is Tamira Hamilton. I am a digital marketing strategist with over 32 years of sales marketing and leadership experience, everything from small companies to some of the biggest brands that you have in your household and have since you were a child. So I love marketing. Marketing is just something that I won't say fell into, but when I learned what it was, I knew it was what I wanted to do, and it's what I love to do. So here we are, right? So I graduated, oh my God, years ago. I won't even say when. I graduated years ago from undergrad, and then I got my graduate degree some years later. And digital marketing was just not really something widely talked about. Like I worked for companies that had websites and that, but I didn't deal with any of that other than making sure that, things were named what they were supposed to be named and things got rated the way they were supposed to be rated. But as far as collecting leads and email marketing and all of that wasn't part of what I did in those corporations. So when I left corporate America and began to grow my own business and brand online, I had a very strong and solid marketing foundation, as you can imagine. But then I needed to learn the digital marketing piece, right? Because things went really, really well. And as I started to, lose, and I won't say lose, but my organic hot market started to shrink, I needed to find new people, right? And so I knew, for example, at the time, I was primarily on Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, and not really even YouTube. And so I knew that there were billions of people that I could have access to via social media marketing, and I needed to learn some digital marketing things on top of what I already knew. So I set out to learn those things, and within a year, really exploded my business by learning and applying those digital marketing principles. So let's make sure we still have sound because I see people coming and going, and I'm going to also grab my fan or turn the fan toward me because we are getting a little bit of glow, a little bit of glow, just a little bit. Okay. So, what I want to talk about tonight is growing your business in 2025, right? Because for a lot of people, this is going to be a make or break year. Okay. This is going to be a make it or break it year. Either you're going to or get off the pot, right? As my parents, I've heard both of my parents say that in my entire life, right? You either got to take that poop or you got to get off the pot, right? And I've seen this happen every so many years. And I believe this is the year that people are either going to have to figure it out and make things work, or they're going to have to find something else to do. They're going to have to go back to a regular job. They're going to have to, shut their business down, right? And I've seen this, I've been hearing rumblings of it from various people over the last year. And there are a few reasons why this happens, honestly, right? So we'll get into some of that. We'll talk about how to make it instead of break it, right? Because I truly believe if it was put on your heart to have a business, your business was meant to succeed. It's not always going to be the easiest road, right? It is definitely the greatest journey in personal and self development. But if you start a business with the idea that you just want to stay in your comfort zone and just do what you know, and do what you love, I'm here to tell you, and don't ask me how I know or ask me how I know, that that's probably the number one reason that you're stuck, right? You're stuck because there are the gap, right, between where you want to be and where you are. That gap is the success to close that gap lies in the things that you are refusing to do and do not want to do in your business. And for many of you, that is actually embody the CEO. That is actually marketing. That is actually sales, right? Because I don't know, maybe you dreamed of a business as a little girl where you just showed up, and say it was a boutique, you just showed up and clients magically appeared and they bought things and you had your regulars. Well, it doesn't work that way when you have competition. It doesn't work that way in the real world, where there's a legal environment, there's a technological environment, there's taxes, there's tariffs, there's a political environment, there's a societal environment, right? There are all these things that impact your ability to do business, and whether you like it or not, you can't just turn a blind eye, put your head down, and put on blinders and pretend to not see any of these other things. I've talked about it numerous times about how many businesses in my local little downtown area, Main Street, USA, have closed. Now, one or two have reopened with modified hours and things like that, and they're doing some hybrid things and figuring some things out, and I love to see that. I really, really do. But this idea that, I've heard from business owners, local small brick and mortar business owners, oh, it's the Facebook and the digital, that's why nobody's coming in. No, nobody's coming in because you're not marketing. You're not marketing. You should be using Facebook, you should be using email, you should be using video in order to get people into your establishment. And just creating a Facebook event is not digital marketing. If you're having these events and you don't have a videographer, which, hello, a videographer could be anybody who knows how to take good video on an iPhone or an Android with the right settings, that can be your videographer, and turning that into short form video content, right? Running paid traffic. There's so many different things that you can do. So we'll hop right on into it. Come on in. Let me know where you are watching from, what type of business you have. We will talk about both online and offline, because I actually work with both offline businesses, like traditional businesses like restaurants and local stores and boutiques, along with I work with a lot of coaches. I work with a lot of estheticians, real estate agents, authors, consultants online as well. Okay. So let me find my list here. So here's the number one thing I will say. A lot of people don't actually have a strategy. And the number one reason you don't have a strategy is because you're trying to do it all for free. You actually don't take your business serious. So other people, in fact, thank you. You love my hair. Thank you so much. You don't take your business serious enough to actually invest in your business. And so I get it. Sometimes it might really be a capital issue. You just don't have the funds, outside of maintaining inventory and being able to, outsource a few hours of staff. So you're not, chained at the hip to your business. I do understand that. But also, and I also understand that you might have thin margins. So there's not a lot of room to reinvesting. As a rule of thumb, you want to be taking 10%. And I've been doing this for years, and I always level up when I do it. You want to be taking 10% of your earnings and reinvesting it back in your business. Sometimes that's paid traffic for me. Sometimes that's different courses and certifications that I'm taking. When I was building my beauty brand, it might be inventory, right? Because I knew if I bought that inventory low, I was going to be selling it high, right? So it would, and whenever you earn money, you should be putting 10% of that back into the business. And one of the best returns on investment to put it back into the business is put it in you. not in Rollies, not in G-Wagons, not in the things that make you look like a successful business owner, but the things that actually make you be the person who has the business that you dream of having. I know you've heard that before, right? What does the person who has that 7, 8 figure business look like? What are they doing inside of their business? Who are they networking with? Where are they networking? That's what you should be investing in. What platforms are they using? Are they running paid traffic? What skills are they learning? Right? Because another thing that's on the list is y'all like to outsource way too soon. Right? It's like y'all see outsourcing as a band-aid, as a way to, it's like over delegating. It really is. It's like over delegating. You don't like it, so you're just going to give it to somebody else. And then when it doesn't work, they get the blame for it. And that's actually really bad leadership. That's actually horrible leadership to do that. You, first of all, should not be asking anyone on your team to do things that you have not or would not do yourself. And that includes sales and marketing. Okay. I was listening to some training that I recently bought into as I was getting ready the other day, and it took me back on a memory to my first job out of college. And I worked in travel, and I was a destination. I negotiated the contracts with major brands like Disney, Universal, hotels, and that for the Florida beaches, and then for Orlando and Disney and Universal. And so in the travel industry back then, and I think they still do this because I've seen it online a bit, is what they would call fam trips, right? And so I wrote that in my mirror in dry erase so I wouldn't forget, right? And so you might think fam means like family trips if you were to see it on my mirror, but it actually means familiar or familiarization, right? So they would organize these fam trips for travel agents, for the tour operators, which is basically a vacation package company, which is what I worked for at the time. For those employees, for the people who did the contracting, and the not even so much. It's really weird. Not so much the marketing people, but the sales people, for them to experience the property, to really know how to market it, to know how to sell it, to know how to service when customer service issues came up, to really get to know the destination and know where Lake Buena Vista is in comparison to Kissimmee, in comparison to International Drive. That familiarization and really getting to know the destination and the properties, right? And some of y'all need to take fam trips inside of your own business. You need to learn the marketing. You need to learn it at least enough to be able to know what to expect, right? Because if you don't know what to expect, you don't know what to inspect with your teams. And that's why I've had people come to me and they think I'm supposed to give them a break on marketing because they've spent all this money on marketing and nothing happened from it. Well, I'm sorry that that's happened to you, but that don't got nothing to do with me, boo boo. In fact, if you want me to clean up behind somebody else, that's going to be at a premium. You're going to pay me more for me to come in and clean up after somebody than what it would have cost you to just hire me in the first place. Secondly, there is no guarantee of results. It's all testing, right? It's all testing, right? Like I'm really getting back to my roots with paid traffic on multiple platforms, and I've been doing some research and doing some numbers and doing some training in that because I have a feeling I will be doing more with clients on that again. And one of the things you have to know is y'all want to go straight to ads to think you're going to like spend $25 and make 50,000. It doesn't really work that way, right? First of all, you don't even know if you have a viable offer. You don't even know if you have a high converting offer, let alone a viable offer. So you need to know that first, right? One of the things I like to do with my clients is I like to run, put content out there and see what sticks. And then run ads. And even I don't do a lot of boosted posts, but they do have their role. Do a boosted post to a post that is already performing well. Run ads to posts that are already performing well, because success leaves clues, right? So right now on Pinterest, for example, in my own business, I have created a custom GPT to make creating pins easier for the students of Pin Profits Mastery and for myself. And it's a damn good bot, let me tell you. It is a phenomenal bot. Okay. I know this because I was running numbers yesterday, and the traffic increase, the outbound clicks increase from Pinterest because of these pins that I have been creating and SEO optimizing very efficiently and effectively using the GPT that I built custom to go inside of Pin Profits Mastery, is doing what it's supposed to do. It is proof of concept. It is proof that Pin Profits Mastery, it's effective. It delivers everything that it says it's going to, and honestly, then some, right? So I've been able to identify, yes, these pins are performing better, but not all of them are performing better. Why not? The ones that are performing better, why? Okay, and now I've identified, I'm going to keep watching this one and this one over here. And when they get to this point, I might run traffic to them. I might run ads on them, because I've been running the numbers against the goals that I have, and I know how much traffic it's going to take in order to collect the number of leads and get the number of conversions to make the financial goals that I have. See, because y'all been taught that spending money on ads is spending money on ads is not the problem. Spending money on ads when you don't know what you're doing is the problem. Spending money on ads when you don't have a strategy is the problem. But you know what else is a problem? When you're trying to do it organically and you're chasing trends and you're chasing virality without a strategy, without an infrastructure, that's problematic. And that's why you're exhausted. And that's why you might be looking at quitting your business. And that might be why you've given yourself the ultimatum that this is your make it or break it year. Ask me how I know. Because 2014 was my make it or break it year. 2014, I said, if I don't make this work after this, and this, if it's not popping off, then I gotta let it go, and I gotta go back to a traditional job. And I've talked about this since then. I've talked about this numerous times. My threshold was I had to get 1,000 no's for the business that I was building at that time. And it didn't even take 1,000 no's. And I had things popping. Why? Because I put a digital marketing strategy and infrastructure in place. Okay. So what else do we have here on the list? Why you are looking at making it or breaking it. Again, chasing trends and tools. As I say, you can drink all the water, you can eat all the kale, you can buy all the fancy pins, all the fancy pins, all the beautiful planners and stickers, right? You can jump on the latest, greatest software and tool that someone is getting paid on to tell you about. And hey, I'm an affiliate of a lot of things. And until you actually get your strategy in place, until you actually get your infrastructure in place, you're going to struggle and more than likely fail. And that's just the reality of it. Okay. I want to look something up here, make sure I'm quoting myself right. Oops. I mean, because here's the reality: you can have lots of money and still have a broke mindset, right? When you are rich in mindset, you are more wealthy than the person who has money but a broke mindset. And a broke mindset is what keeps you from investing in your business and investing in yourself. Okay. You have to know and appreciate and understand that it takes money to make money. It takes money to make money. Okay. If you are not investing and putting that 10% back in your business, it's going to be tough. It's going to be very, very tough. So I'm looking for something. The other thing I will say too is healing. The more you work, and that's why personal development and self development are so important, because if you do not invest in your personal development, you are basically putting a cap on your income. That's just the reality of it, right? Because you have to understand, no time in history has it been as easy to start with very little to nothing and be able to turn it around and have unlimited potential upside. Yes, here it is. You can buy all the planners, master every software update, stay ahead of every tech trend, keep your operations tight. But if you don't market or create customers, you're just spinning your wheels. Stick to what you know and maybe leave the hustle to someone else. That's a thread that I put out last year. You can buy all the planners. You can go on all the cruises with the influencers to look like an influencer. But until you do the deep personal work, until you do the shadow work, until you do the internal work, the personal development, the self development, and invest back in your business, you're going to just continually have a cycle of ups and downs without any real trajectory. Okay. So you have to not be scared to own your marketing. If you truly are the CEO of your company, you understand that marketing is part of your role. Marketing, sales, and leadership are a part of the role of the CEO of your company, of your brand. And nobody, when you think about it, no one is going to be able to sell your business, your idea, your vision better than you. No one's going to be able to market it and get that message better than you. Not for quite some time. You're the best person until you can find the person who embodies it and they're very good at it. And many of you are outsourcing these things way too soon. Way too soon. Marketing is not something. And the crazy part is, y'all not only want to outsource it, you want to pay somebody like pennies on the dollar, not even pennies on the pennies It's crazy what some of y'all think you're supposed to be able to get a full-time. Basically, y'all don't realize social media management can, in most cases, is a full-time job. And as for me, as much as I love to create, I only have so much bandwidth. I don't have bandwidth to create for you and me. Your best bet is to tap into this big old brain of mine, and it's $697 for 90 minutes to pick my brain. Otherwise, you get a course, a VIP day, a half a VIP day. But you cannot be scared to own your marketing. Marketing is your responsibility as the owner, as the founder. Do you think Amazon, do you think Apple, do you think Google are where they are today because the CEOs just hired other people out the gate? If you know those stories like Amazon and Apple, urban legend has it that they started in garages. So somebody in that garage was doing the sales and the marketing. Somebody, one of the founders, if not all three or four, or however many it was. You've seen the image of Jeff Bezos at the desk, didn't really even have a computer, but was selling Amazon. Let me see if I can find that. Amazon Bezos startup photo. Oh, he did have a computer. Okay, he did. He did have one of those old, big old clunky monitors, right? You think he wasn't doing the selling? Have y'all ever watched movies about the startup story of some of these brands? You will know that these dudes were selling. You will know that they were marketing. Yes, you. I'm looking at you. So you have to own your marketing. And y'all get very easily distracted. You let somebody come in with a new software that they're selling and getting a huge commission on, often 100% commission. They're really not a strategist. They just want to sound like a strategist so that you can get their software, but they are not a strategist, right? A lot of these software is service people. They are service providers. They are not strategists, and you need to know the difference. You need to know the difference. They are not strategists. And some of them are better than others at sounding like they are strategists, but all they're doing is repeating what they heard on CNBC, what they heard Gary Vaynerchuk say, what they heard Alex Hormozy say. They are not true, tried and true strategists. They have not created marketing plans, implemented and executed on marketing plans for themselves, let alone anyone else. They out here hustling. Every day I'm hustling, 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 hustling. So you have to stop getting distracted by all the little planners, the tools, the software, going on the cruises and learning, because some of these people who are big, they're not telling y'all the full story of how they got there, but I'm not even going to go there. And just know that there's usually some piece to their story that's missing. And you want to go on the cruise and you want to buy your little 4K, 5K camera and give it a name, none of that is generating revenue for you. It's just not generating revenue for you. And revenue is the name of the game. Cash flow. I have an entire course all about generating cash flow. And it's really a sales course. Sales is cash flow. You want cash flow, you get sales. You generate sales. Okay? So you have to be doing the right things in your business. And that is that's like the first thing we do in the luminary path, right? We determine either your ideal client, and if you have not clearly defined your ideal client, that's the first thing we've done. Once you've identified your ideal client and some other things about them that I'm not going to get into now, then we move into what are the things you need to do on a daily basis at a minimum to move the needle? What is your daily method of operation? And that is making sure you are doing the right things and the right activities. Okay. So I'm going to pause here for a second and talk about one of my favorite clients, Miss Ingrid. Miss Ingrid is ADHD, extremely ADHD. Like I'm constantly pulling her back into the right place, into the conversation, which is tough for me because I've never been diagnosed, but I am menopausal. So I can end up off in some other places too, right? If I were ADHD, I'm the ADHD that's focused to a flaw, right? So I can bring her back to center in the conversation. And we were having a conversation in our session on Tuesday, because I went into it knowing, okay, we're probably going to have some what I call a come to Jesus meeting, where it's like, you're not doing the things that you say you're going to do, that you say to get what you say you want. What do you want to do? Right. And so we had that conversation. What do you want? Is, I think that's from Empire. What do you want, Terrence Howard? What do you want? What do you want? What do you want? Right. And we took it 7, 8 layers deep. What do you want? What do you want? And what happens then? And what's the impact of that? And what happens if you don't do that? Right. So we took it the layers deep, and we got to a point where she named off what she wanted, and then she said, and I also kind of want a group. I want to have a group again. And she just kind of grazed over it, and I said, hold on, wait, let's go back. I feel like there's some shame or something around having a group. I don't know what's going on there. I need you to explain to me what's going on. Well, everybody says that groups don't work and groups this and groups that. And I said, why is everybody in your head? Why is everybody in your business? Just because it didn't work for them doesn't mean it's not going to work for you. This is your business. You get to design the business that you want. When I was in North Carolina a few weeks ago, that came up. We were all sitting around at Caribou Coffee, and we were talking, and I was like, yeah, I'm not that coach that's ever going to tell you that you have to do this or you have to do that. It's your business. I'm just here to be a guide and an advisor. I'm going to warn you of the pitfalls. I'm going to be honest about the risks. But at the end of the day, it's your decision to decide. And if you decide to do it, I'm going to be there to guide you and to assist you in doing it wholeheartedly, doing it with purpose, with intention, in alignment. And I know those sound like buzzwords, so let me break it down what I mean. So it needs to be in alignment with the vision that you have for your life. It needs to be in alignment with the goals. For example, for me personally, it has to come with ease and flow and bring me joy. And if it does not, it is my duty to figure out what it is that is going to bring me joy and come with ease and flow, and then go in that direction. And I'm not a hypocrite. So if that is my philosophy for myself, that is also my philosophy for my clients. I am not going to hold you to the KPI numbers that work for my business. Your numbers may be higher or lower depending on the industry and the niche, the ideal client. But we know that people have done that, right? One of my mentors, that's how she became my mentor. Her YouTube video showed up in my queue and she talked about that. We make the numbers mean way too much. And I'm a numbers girl. I'm hyper analytical. I'm definitely a numbers girl. I will make some R-squared charts and all kinds of stuff. But holding you to conversion numbers for webinars, for launches that your mentor had, if your mentor is overcharging you if they don't understand that your conversion numbers may be different. Because number one, your ideal client is different, your niche, your market is different, your product and your offer are different too. So it's not a one size fits all. And even the KPIs for your niche or your industry, because that's typically what I bring to my client as a starting point, as a benchmark, there's still a lot of, I won't say margin for error, but there's room. There's wiggle room. It's not a one size fits all. Because if to expect their exact same numbers, you need to be doing the exact same thing as them, the exact same place, the exact same time, the exact same budget, and the exact same brain and genius and all of that behind it. And you're just not going to. And you're just not going to. So we had to have this conversation, Ingrid and I, about groups. And if that's what you want to do, God or whoever it is that you serve put it on you for a reason. My mentor also talks about that. Your desires. Your desires are there because that's what you're supposed to do. That's your purpose. That's your, right? So if you feel strongly about having this 6-month group and that, just because they couldn't do it doesn't mean that you can't, won't, or shouldn't do it. So how do we make it work for you and your ideal client in this case? Okay. So you have to stop doing the wrong things and listening to the wrong people. Listening to people talk to you about your lead magnet and social media marketing who don't even like to show their face on social media, who don't even like to have social media accounts. That's weird, right? That's weird. That is really weird. You just gotta know. At the end of the day, I always tell people this, at the end of the day, it's your business. And you're not going to use me as a scapegoat. You're not going to use me as a scapegoat. You're not going to use my courses as a scapegoat. You got to show up and you got to do the work. No, I'm not guaranteeing shit because I'd be lying to you. I'd be putting myself at risk by guaranteeing anything to you. And I'm not going to do that. Anybody who's a real marketer, who's a real business person, understands and knows that none of this stuff is guaranteed. First of all, things can happen beyond your control. And one of the things that can happen beyond my control is whether or not you do the work, because I can't make you what I'm supposed to do, come beat you and make you do it. I'm not doing that. You're a grown adult. I ain't your mama. You have to have vision. And that's one of the number one things a lot of you are missing is what is your vision? You just want to edit books. You just want to sell books. You just want to, sell legal packages. You just want to sell beauty products. But what is the vision? I've always had a vision for my business and my brand. Always, from day one, had a vision. Always, always, always. Because I've been in corporate long enough to know that you have to have a vision. I mean, it's even biblical. Where there is no vision, the people perish. You have to know that. You have to have a vision. It needs to be written. Your vision and your mission are not the same. You need to be able to differentiate between the two. Your vision is more of the dream. The mission is more of how, in a sense. The vision is big and overarching, and then you can have a mission. The mission is more so, I should say, what, right? So you got to have your vision. You need to develop your vision. And if you are struggling with that, then we need to talk. We need to get you on the path. We need to get you on the luminary path. Light up the way. Light up the way. Let me see how long we've been live here. I can't tell. And there's this red line in a way. Okay. At the end of the day, you have to trust yourself enough to not want to use other people as scapegoats, whether that's your mentor, your coach, your VA. When I hear people looking for those escapes to be able to blame someone else, I know it's because they're looking for a scapegoat. And they're looking for a scapegoat because they don't trust themselves enough to take accountability, because trust comes with accountability. They don't want to be accountable for their own results in their own results in their business. And you have to have that accountability. It's very important to have that accountability, because accountability is, I own that. I own where I am. I own how we got here. And I also own course correcting and fixing it. I own the results, because if I'm going to own the successes, I have to also own the failures, which are really no more than learning opportunities. The learnings, the lessons, you have to own those as well. Great storytelling is but therefore. I started my business. I had rapid success in 2013. Rapid success. But being the visionary and knowing the numbers and the analytics, I knew that by August I was going to be in trouble, because I didn't have enough new customers come in. That's the but. Therefore, first thing I did was I secured a job where I was underemployed. Secondly, I began to pursue digital marketing so that I could get outside of my warm and hot market, because all of your friends and family are not going to be your customers. They're not. Influencer marketing is great, but y'all are expecting influencers to do it all for you, and you're not doing it yourself. The brands that I see that succeed the best and the most with influencer marketing, they are behaving as influencers themselves. They are going live. They are live streaming. I'm thinking especially in the world of beauty, but even in physical products, over whether it was Instagram, now TikTok, you see these creators, these business owners, they are going live, and for hours, they are their own very best influencer. They have their own influencer and affiliate links, because how can they expect big name on TikTok, YouTube, or whatever to build their business for them? Because if they build their business for them, guess what else they can do? One bad word or move on to the next competitor, and boom, their business crumbles. That's that accountability. That's that self-trust. This is so good. This is so good. See how it all works together? See how it all flows? How it's all related? It's all related. And it goes back to the personal development. It goes back to the self-development. It goes back to the shadow work. I spent a lot of time in the shadow work in recent years. And boy, is it paying off for me right now. A lot of time doing the shadow work. And I will continue to do the shadow work, because for me, the shadow work led me to the most important work, which was self-concept. And I'm not telling you I've solved it. It's going to be a continual process, right? But without that, that's why I hit that wall. I hit that. And now I wake up every day and I'm ready. Okay, let's do this because I know that I'm worthy and deserving. My inner child is beaming. She's excited. She's happy. She feels safe. She feels secure. And that's the kind of work I can help you with in the Luminary path, along with your sales acumen, your sales strategy and plan, your marketing strategy and plan, with your daily method of operation, your product, your offering, your digital marketing infrastructure. I can help you with all of those things. I mean, we're going on 33 years of sales marketing and leadership experience and over 10 in digital marketing and certified. But you need a path, you need a vision, you need a daily method of operation, you need strategy, you need vision first, and then the strategy is developed out of the mission. And these are things that I've been doing for over 30 years now. It's fun. I love it. And that's part of the reason you don't want to do the sales and marketing and you just want to hire it out. Instead of hiring it out, get co-regulated, get your nervous system calm around these tasks by working with someone who actually has the strategy, who has the vision that you can borrow the belief from. You can borrow the belief until you see the results. You can see the success. This is so good. This is so good. Right? That's what you should be able to do. I see it with my clients every week when I work with them. Right? Here, I'm going to read this to you from Haley. And Haley was referred to me by another client. I educated her on Facebook ads last summer. Okay. And she referred Haley over to me. Haley was I usually don't do a lot of technical work, but to develop the relationship with Haley, and I knew I could help her. And it ain't cheap when you hire me for technical work. It's just as expensive as the strategy work. And so let me tell you what Haley said. Haley said, as many of you know, I am challenged technically in all caps. I Though most of it is probably impatience as well as hating social media. Maybe it was because I was having an admin challenge with one of my Facebook business pages. I was referred to Tamira Hamilton, who was fun, patient, and walked me through how to easily fix my problem. Not to mention, she offers good social media suggestions on her page. If you need social media, constant contact, etc., help or coaching, she's your girl. You can tell her Haley sent you. Thank you, best friend, because that's what we determined, that we want to be friends. Like, yes, we did business together, but we vibed. So we are going to continue to be friends. Anything we can do to help and support each other. That is what I love about what I do. I recently had a client who came back to me after 5 years, right? I've been emailing this restaurant owner for 5 years. We did some great video work back in 2019, early 2020. And then in March 2020, we know what happened. Just as we were about to do some retainer work, right? That's why I'll do things like the technical work with Haley, who works for a company in the wine industry. I will do technical work, or like, I tend to do something between $500 and $750 the first time I work with someone before we move into a proposal that's like thousands, tens of thousands of dollars, or thousands of dollars, to make sure, one, we can work together. You need to write that down. To make sure that we can work together, to make sure that it is a good fit for us to work together. Not because we know there's no doubt that I can do the work. That should never be a question. But I ain't for everybody and everybody ain't for me. So we're going to start small, between $500 and $750, usually around $697 for an hour and a half, 2 hours max, right? We're going to do some sort of evaluation, some sort of diagnostic, right? Because that's how I treated going. She calls it technical, but it was really diagnostic. I wanted to get under the hood and see what was there and assess it, evaluate it, make recommendations. And that's what we did. Made recommendations. You can upload your customer list. You can run ads directly to your customer list. You can boost posts. We went through a whole list of things, right? But don't just go jumping in and charging people $5,000, $7,000 because that is no fun to deal with and I don't know because I ain't dealt with it and I ain't gonna deal with it as a chargeback, as a dispute, as a potential to end up in court, right? Work smarter, not harder. And that's why getting certified is important, right? Because one of the things I'm going to tell y'all, there are a lot of people who run around and say they've made millions, and that means what they generated in revenue. That is not what they took home. That was not their pay. That was not their portion. You know, there's all this talk about whether or not a college education. The people with college education would never say that. The people with certifications would never say that. It's always the people who don't have the education who say that. And I'm not saying that to be mean. I'm not saying that to be mean. I'm just saying that to be real. It was just an observation that hit me today. There's still a lot to be said for education, and I stand on it. Because you can get in trouble. I'm thinking of a very particular case. Serving time pregnant. For what's the terminology? Basically breaking the law. For shady marketing and sales practices. You have to have ethics in whatever it is that you do, but you can't break trust with yourself. If you break trust with yourself, you're definitely going to break trust with the public and with the customers and defraud in that. So you can't break trust with yourself. That's where it all starts. And if you don't trust you, believe me, your ideal client, your community, your following, they know when you don't trust yourself. You know, it's like back in like 2014 when I was yelling at everybody to pay the $2 because that's all it cost back then to get the logo off of your photos for apps and that. Get that off of there. If you are a business owner and you won't spend $2, which is potentially, because I'm not a tax advisor, so I can't give you tax advice, which is potentially tax deductible, are you even a business owner? And again, I can tell who you've been listening to by the words that come out of your mouth. When you're always talking about, oh, I built it organically with no ads. And where is that a flex? How is that a flex? On what planet is that a flex? Because it's not. It's not a flex. Because you can't be talking about soft life and building and designing the life that you want that you can work from anywhere. And you don't understand that scale comes from strategically using paid traffic. There's nothing wrong with using paid traffic. I don't know where it became a badge of honor to talk about you didn't run ads. It does not make you any better of a marketer. Trust me. It just kind of makes you look like a broke one, just to keep it real. And I've run ads successfully for clients and for myself for many, many years. And how I got good at ads was because with my marketing education in my background, I started running ads without knowing a few nuances of Facebook and blew through, I think like $1,500 really quickly. I think it was like $1,500, $2,000 really quickly without any a lead, let alone a sale. and they would not give me my money back because I was heated. Why are you showing my ads to people in third world countries that can't even buy my stuff, that don't even have these? Some of these people are kids, they don't even have credit and debit cards. So I learned a lot, and that's how I got to be very good with Facebook ads. A lot of what y'all think are viral videos, viral content, some of it's formulaic. There are networks and distribution behind them, and often there was paid traffic, if not to the platform, by way of, if you post this, we'll pay you. Make sure you post. Yeah. I need you to be for real. I need you to learn how business works. I need you to learn how capitalism works. I need you to learn how capitalism works and put on your capitalism hat. Put on your business hat. Put on your I am a business woman. Step into and embody being a business woman. That's a whole other video. I need to come back and just get at y'all and talk to y'all about what it means to be a businesswoman and talk to you about being a business woman. Okay. So we have talked about a lot. So let's talk a little bit about the Luminary Path. The Luminary Path is one-on-one coaching with me, where we sit down and we identify who it is that you serve, how you serve them. We fix your messaging, we fix your offer, we get your daily method of operation in place. We, if you want to run paid traffic, we get you positioned to run paid traffic, because you should not just be running paid traffic, number one, without doing knowing what you're doing, and definitely without vision or strategy and a plan in place, right? When someone comes to me and they really want like a big package with me, that's the first thing we talk about. You got to be willing to lose a few $1,000s, quote unquote, lose, because you're really not losing, but you're investing in your testing. You got to be willing to run ads and traffic to content, to blog posts, to web pages without expectation of sales. Because that's what, y'all think there's only sales for conversion or advertising to get conversions. No, there's advertising to build awareness. There's advertising to get engagement with the purpose of retargeting. But you shouldn't be doing any of it if you don't have your product, your offer, and your strategy and your vision in place and proven. You shouldn't be doing any of that. Well, there are people who do. I watched so and so, and he did it. Yeah, because he had a whole team that he paid a whole lot of money to allow him to be able to do that. And you ain't got that. So you got to build it from the ground up. But y'all don't want to hear the truth. Y'all just want to see the glamour, the glitz. Y'all like to get taken. Y'all like to get scammed. Not all of you, but you know who I'm talking to. Hey, girl. Hey, woman. Hey, girl. Hey. Talking about the luminary path and how to actually, I see a lot of people, as you know, posting content and they're not getting results from their content, because they're just throwing out content because they believe that's what they're supposed to do, because that's what they were told to do. They don't have any real strategy. They just have activity. So we went through all of those things, and now we're talking about the luminary path. But you are here and you've been in different courses and programs of mine, including the cash flowing, the F with me, get a bag, cash flow masterclass and series of masterclasses from a few summers ago. So maybe you can comment something about that in the comments, or I know you also grabbed some, I mean, you've grabbed quite a few things, so maybe you can talk a little bit about that. Yes, strategy is key. Strategy is key. Having your daily method of operation, Because a startup does not just build it and wait for them to come. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. I come from a banking background, and new builds, you were expected to hustle. You were not just waiting for people to walk in because you opened a branch. You were out there in the community. You were knocking on doors. You were doing whatever you had to do to get those account holders. Right? Y'all don't know. Y'all have fantasy. Y'all need to go and watch things like, I hate to say it, but like The Apprentice and that, and see the hands on the ground, the grassroots work it takes. Being intentional with what you post and how to market, absolutely, absolutely, you have to be intentional with what to post and how to market. And I've covered that in so many different programs. I don't think there's a program where I don't cover that, or experiences I like to call them these days, right? But without that daily method of operation, you're just busy doing the wrong stuff. I see it so often and I laugh. It tickles me when I see it. You're in a sauna and you're in your Trello board and doing all these things. I used to see it in corporate America too. There was this girl, my first job out of college, she would stay late every day. And always wondered what she was doing other than looking like she was staying late because she thought that was going to get her a promotion. When I worked in banking, we had to talk to customers about our products and services. Absolutely. Absolutely. Closed mouth don't get fed. And everybody got to earn their seat. Everybody got to earn their seat. Nope. Right? There was a time in banking where we weren't aggressive in like tackling customers, but it was like when they walk through the door, you greet them and try and get them to your desk so you can help them. Somebody else go take care of the transaction, and then you start having a conversation with them. There are people who had a problem with it more so internally, I think, than externally. And yeah, I think, just succumb to the lowest level, the lowest common denominator. But yeah. So anyway, so the Luminary Path, it is a high ticket offer. And if you are interested in working one-on-one with me to develop your strategy, remember, I have created multiple six-figure brands. I have generated hundreds of thousands of dollars in sales with people that I've never talked to online, that I've never seen, from all across the globe in my sleep. I still get orders. I was in North Carolina a few weeks ago, and every day that I woke up in North Carolina, there were orders. Indeed, especially if the bank was in a grocery store. I never worked in one of those. Indeed, right? So if you want to work with me in the Luminary, it is an application process. You have to reach out to me and we schedule a call to make sure that it is the right fit for you, because it is an investment. But there are also payment plans and options available. People should actually be lined up for this opportunity. That's why I only have so many open, because people should be lined up for this. Because number one, y'all need it. I'm not saying that to be me, but it is needed. It is very needed. It is also still, while it's high ticket, it is still very reasonable and affordable. Because there are people I know to work with them at this level, and what we do, you're talking $15,000-$20,000 minimum. Usually more like 20 to 25,000. And every time I watch them, I say, "You are a fool. You are a fool, and you should be charging more, a lot more, significantly more." How are we doing on time here? Whoops, wrong button. But we're at the hour mark, so I do think I'm going to end it now. And I think I'm scheduled to go live tomorrow because ChatGPT is really running my life right now. Between ChatGPT and Siri, They tell me what to do, where to be every day. And so ChatGPT and I have this thing where it tells me, like, I envision the day where it, like, a hologram pops up and says, okay, Tamira, here's the plan for the day. That's in my mind where this is going. But for now, I ask it every day based on our strategic plan and direction. What are the activities that I should be focused on and make sure that I get completed today? And I actually do it the night before. So I already have them for tomorrow, and I will write them down so then I'm more likely to remember and have them in front of me. And then I also have them documented digitally as well. And it's great documentation so that when it happens, I know exactly why it happened and what I was doing. So if it slows down, trends backwards, I know what potentially should get it back on track. And that is the beauty of Chat GPT. The documentation I have is incredible. It's insane, actually. It's actually insane. Oh, and I just remembered I have to do something. So I better get off of here because I do have somewhere to run to tonight yet. So I am going to go. Make sure if you're not following, you click that follow button. And if you want to get my free engagement guide, you know where to go. The LINK and my BIO. I have other freebies there. And I will see you on the next video. Bye, One Me. Good night.